Hello and welcome to Here for SR, a live talk show where we talk about iRacing memes, and the people that make them. I'm Tom Armides, and I'm here with my co-host Manny Tolentino. Say hello, Manny.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, excellent. I heard that you just got a haircut. Is that true, or is that fake news?
Sources unconfirmed.
Understood.
We'll have to get back to you on that story.
It looks excellent.
Thank you. You always look beautiful, Tom.
Thank you. I am not wearing my hat this morning. Um,
It's not even an Ascari hat, so what's the point?
that's fair. Uh, let's get right into it. It was NASCAR was at the Daytona Oval, the new NASCAR layout. This week was Dover and WWT, which barely needs any touching on at all. We
Gateway is
have
the best oval. That's really all that needs to be
it's
said.
excellent. It's excellent. Um, but it doesn't. It's not worth talking about. I'm afraid. Uh, and how many people
Tight
did? How
schedule.
many people ran trucks? Really, me and some other
You and
1.2K
three
guys.
other Billies, yeah,
Yeah,
most
that's right.
likely.
Yeah, I ran a C Open with 8 people at one point. So
Man, I
there
could
was,
have been the ninth. Missed opportunity.
yeah, you'd have been card too. Almost guarantee it.
Ooh.
Almost guarantee it. Uh, let's talk price changes because I know this excites you. I know you get excited from free
I
stuff.
I I love a dollar. What can I say?
That's right. That's right. Uh, what's the most exciting bit of the new free cars and tracks? We have the Jetta. Okay. We have the UMP modified. We have Oran Park, Alton, Langley, Southern National, and Lima Land.
So three of these I've never been to personally. So I've never driven Langley
Mm-hmm.
because I had to pay for it. Never driven Southern National
Mm-hmm.
because I had to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Never driven Lima Land because I had to pay for it. Oran Park, tremendous track. Uh, it's kind of weird because it was paved over in, I believe, 2008 to replace with homes. Track's in Australia. And yeah, so they closed the racetrack, built a neighborhood on it, and that's all she wrote. It's a very interesting track with a lot of progressive banking and off-camber corners. It drives a little bit like Brands Hatch in that you can only run it effectively at 10 tenths or 1/10. There's no that 2 to 9 gap is gone. So you're either going to be on the pace or 3 seconds off.
I know that
It's
all too well about Brands Hatch GP.
Oh, I
All
thought you
too
were going
well.
to say that you knew about being 3 seconds off the pace, which I would also be okay with.
At Lamar, yes, I do know what that's like. Any long track, yes. Short tracks, 2 seconds. Come on, give me a
Two
break.
seconds, all right. No, I'll give you that. No, honestly, I think that the additions to free content, especially given the context of earlier this season when they announced the legacy pricing for a lot of the content that was previously considered free for new incoming members, I think that it's positive to see that despite them still, pursuing the legacy model, which I understand you're trying to make up some of the residual costs of having, scan the cars, what have you. Obviously, with some of these cars like the HPD that are now moving to legacy pricing at 295, with the incoming Dallara LMP2, you have a car that probably a very high percentage of the player base owns. I'd be very surprised if under 50% of the road player base owned it. Um,
So
so
you're
yeah,
saying you'd be surprised if people did not own it? That's what you're saying.
uh, yeah,
Okay.
I would get. I mean, I'm not thinking that Joe Schmo running C fixed all week every week is going to be owning it, but
Mm-hmm.
among people who drive road, yeah, I would imagine that probably close to half of them, if not more, would own it.
That's fair. Um, I've never driven the Oop modified, nor have I driven the Jetta. Surprise. Uh,
Or as I affectionately call it, the sorority special.
uh,
It's like a 2009 Jetta that every sorority girl named Blair had.
Well,
in
I
college.
remember going to Road America when they did that TDI. I forget what they called it. It's like a TDI Cup.
The TDI Cup.
Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yep. Yep.
And I actually thought it was kind of cool. You know, it was like MX5, but somehow closer and more boring. I think the guys just couldn't get away from each other, especially at RA with the straights. But it was kind of it was fun to
Lord knows
watch.
they couldn't escape the emissions testing.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's
Heyo.
good. That's good. I'll be curious to see how many people drive the Jetta now that it's free. I probably will not be, but hey, um, you know, uh, in the chat,
Yeah,
Nick
yeah, Nick, you're my
says
favorite sorority girl.
Jetta is still a sorority girl car, but I own one. Mhm.
Nick is definitely the sorority president, 100%.
Ah, well, I owned a Golf at one point. And it
I
was
currently
fine.
own Golf.
Oh, I know I did own a Jetta. It was the 1.6 normally aspirated. It was
No,
like a
you lost me with
1996 or
normally
something. It
aspirated.
was bad. It was terrible.
Yeah, that sounds quite terrible.
It was the
Almost as terrible as your Del Pocky DJ
uh, it's like
affinity.
the opposite of an Audi engine bay. Okay, you know, so an Audi engine bay, you have to like pull off 3 different plastic shrouds just to like check the oil.
And remove the front bumper
Uh,
and crash bar.
just,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm exaggerating, but not much. However, the Jetta, this is not an exaggeration. You could stand in the engine bay and work on it. So, okay. Next hot item on the list is the old HPD LMP2 dead at $3 a car. We don't know where it's going. There's talk that it might end up in Fanatec GT Challenge. Yes.
Yeah, what I think will probably end up happening with it is if iRacing decides, hey, we have a lot of people that own this, and it's an opportunity to continue building on somewhat of a niche series with Fanatec GT Challenge being the turn of the decade GT1 class plus the Ford GT GT2. So I think that if iRacing decides to update it to the new damage model, based on what I've seen in the forums, it looks like that's one of the biggest concerns is people understandably don't want to lose the new damage model in those cars. So I think if iRacing were willing to put in the resources to update it to the new damage model, it could present a tremendous opportunity for growth for that series.
Well, that's a good point with the damage model. I didn't think about that, but because they all have to be on the new. So yeah, I mean they could do it. I don't see any reason why maybe they shouldn't or couldn't. I don't
And
know. I
I
don't know how
definitely
many
see
people are gonna
a
drive it.
world in which there's a lot of league participation with that car. I think that,
Sure.
from my perspective, I've driven it at Le Mans the last 2 years. We have people on our team who are currently driving it in the league, and it is, I mean, it's a great car to drive. For me, it's probably my favorite fast car to drive on iRacing. Um, I think
I thought
that
your favorite
for
fast car was the USF 2000.
Yeah, but that's not fast. So do
How
you
dare
see?
you? How dare you?
There's a disconnect there.
How dare you? Sorry, leagues and HPD. I'm derailing you. I'm sorry on purpose.
I know. Yeah, I know. The moment I mentioned leagues, you've checked out of the conversation.
That's right.
I'm still forcing you to run that league in a week and a half, though. So look forward to
That's
that.
not true.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true.
I don't. I don't think that's true.
You heard it here first, folks.
Okay. So, Manny's take HPD not dead. Is that correct?
Not dead.
Okay. And
It is being lowered into the coffin, but not dead or buried.
we'll have Porsche Esports Super Cup driver Jamie Fluke on in a moment, who had a very interesting race last week at Brands Hatch. Right before that happens, uh, just on the Fanatec GT Challenge, uh, I think that you and I are probably at the right age to have a lot of nostalgia for that era of American Le Mans
Are
series.
you saying I'm old?
That would be implying I'm old as well.
That's a good
Yes.
point.
Uh, and we're older than say the 20-year-old uh alien-like individuals that you run into sometimes, but we're not that old. But um, I remember seeing those cars in like Tequila Patron livery, along with
Oh,
that era
absolutely.
Corvette and Aston, and that's like my high point of sports car racing. It just probably is honestly because that's when I was like 13 or whatever, but it doesn't matter. I loved it.
No, and I think that when you look back at the history of some of those races, I mean, you had some classics at Road America, for example. I think it was 2010 or 11, where like every class was nose to tail for the class lead entering the last hour of the race. So I think that you had some classics, some really close racing. Um, that era of American Le Mans series, that 4-year window really from like 2007 to 11 is probably like the peak, excluding my beloved Delta Wing, which would come in, I believe, in 2012. Um,
That's
but
a
I
terrible
think
choice, Manny. That's horrible.
and from then on, I think we saw the effects of the Grand Am ALMS split, resulting in DP, which I think to this day is probably the most brilliant spec series that's ever been run for the roadside here in the States. I mean, the diversity of competition you saw in that, especially in the beginning when you had like 20, 25 teams running DP at the Daytona 24. Um, it spoke a lot, I think, to the efforts put into creating a competitive top tier prototype class.
I think what you mean is that it spoke to a lot of how very few individuals could make an interesting idea kind of boring. I think that's what you meant.
You're so hurtful.
I
No,
mean, come on.
I
They were
love
like
the
a
DTs. Are you kidding me?
I liked the racing. That was the only thing I
The
liked about
racing
them.
was
It was
tremendous
very
every
good.
single year.
It was very good. And we
But
didn't have
no,
to
I
rely
think
on
that right
BOP,
now.
which is you don't want to rely on BOP. So I think that's a big plus. But other than that, how they looked, the fact that you described it as a spec series, yes, um, which some people probably don't feel is the way that a top tier sports car series should be.
Yeah,
You can disagree with me.
which I can understand, but when you look at what's happened to every single top tier series since then, starting with the death of GT1 the first time at the turn of the century, then the death of LMP 900 with the Audi R8 and Bentley Speed 8, and then the death of LMP1
May they rest in peace.
with the R10, and then we had LMP1H, which died, and then we had LMP1 again, which is now dead, no matter what Bike Hole says.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that it's something to be cognizant of, right? It's a delicate balance to play between, um, you know, letting people's imagination and budgets run wild and having a healthy series. So it's trying to find that somewhere in between, and I think that IMSA historically has been pretty close to the right balance between the two for a multi-class series. Um, so yeah, I'm very interested to see what the new regulations will produce going forward.
Well, that makes at least one of us. Um, I think we have Jamie Fluke with us now. Jamie, do we got you?
Yeah,
Oh, excellent,
you
excellent.
got me. Have
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
you?
yeah.
Excellent. Tremendous.
Jamie, very nice to meet you. Welcome.
And you too.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Thanks for coming on. The first episode, and we appreciate you being a bit of a guinea pig here. It's either an honor being the first guest, or you're pitied. Either way.
If nothing else, no one else can be the first guest, so you have dibs.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be first in something, so we'll take it.
Well, you weren't that far off first last week at Brands, but could you give us an intro about I don't know, just you and who you drive for, and maybe quick how you started sim racing.
Yeah, so Jamie Fluke, driver for Apex Racing Team, have been now for close to 5 years now. I've been sim racing since 2014. Got on iRacing from there, pretty much right off the bat. I've been playing racing games pretty much all my life, and been a keen fan of pretty much all motorsport, a lot of stuff sort of locally in the UK here. And yeah, just from one thing to another. I realized I could probably get quite good at this when I started ending up at the front end of Spec Racer Ford Fields. This is sort of mid 2015, and took it pretty much as seriously as I could from there. Decided at the end of 2015 I would put like a full year of prep into qualifying for Pro to qualify for the World Championship in 2017. Was able to do that. I did 2 years of F1 World Championship, finished top 10 both years. And then the first year of the Porsche Esports Super Cup, finished 6th, I think. So that was good. Was working my way up, and this season has been a little bit tougher, but yeah. As of last weekend, we're moving in the right direction again.
So you're pretty good, is what you're saying.
I do okay. I have my bad
At
days.
least better than Tom.
Yeah,
A low bar to clear, but
that's
a bar
right.
cleared nonetheless.
Better than the average bear, probably, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll go.
Yes. And you
Would
went.
you lap me in a 10-lap Miata race? Probably.
Depends which track.
Oh.
If it's Nordschleife, probably not. That's a long way to go.
Okayama, yeah, definitely getting lapped.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And you made
I don't know if there's any
you made the
detail.
F1 Pro Series 2 years after you started, or 3?
2 after I started, yeah.
That's very good. That's very good. I can barely get in the Porsche Sprint Challenge races every week. So it's pretty good.
That's a pretty tough thing. Yeah, the guys in there are pretty good.
Manny doesn't give me enough credit. I keep telling him.
I don't give you enough credit. Excuse me.
Anyway, let's do. You actually had maybe certainly the most visible rounds of the year at Brands, mostly because anyone who doesn't know, the qualifying, the top 8 is reversed. So in qualifying, you were 8th, so you started on pole in the sprint race, which was an interesting spot to be. So I think at the start of the round, you were just off of the top 20 in points, or 20th maybe, somewhere in there.
20th in points, yeah, okay. Right on the cut line.
Okay, and so in the first race, you're on pole. You have Alejandro behind you, and then your teammate Johan Hart, and then you have a couple of title favorites. Well, of course, Alejandro is one, but you have Rogers and Sebastian Job, and they're starting
Correct.
in the back half of in the top 8. But they pretty quickly that turned around. I mean, as we can expect, 8th starting in the heat race probably has the most pace, or at least theoretically, in the qualifying. But I honestly thought that Rogers was going to murder both of you. I mean, was that some worry for you?
No, not so much. From practice that I'd done with the guys during the week, and then in the practice sessions just before the race, where everyone starts to show their pace a little bit, I gathered that I'm not as bad this week as had been all season. It was probably sort of within a couple of tenths of raw ultimate pace, and Sanchez was the quickest guy in open practice. So as it turned out, he sandbagged his lap to get P7. So that worked out really, really well for him.
Is that a common strategy? Are guys
it's
trying
rare.
Okay.
Some guys will. Depends on the track, and Brands is a track where if you can start front row and you have P1 pace, well, then you're in the box seat rather than having to really work your way through the field. But at a track like Monza or Spa, where overtaking is more common, then you're probably going to want to try and pick up the points and then back yourself to work your way through. So I actually got lucky a little bit in my qualifying lap, where I think had P2 or P3 pace given what the other guys were doing. I'm not sure exactly who all sandbagged. I know Rogers spun on his last lap, but I don't think he was quicker on his time. But I thought my pace was pretty good and made a mess at the end of the lap and just got lucky to scramble into P8. But I believed I could hold on to my position. I just didn't fully trust myself in the early goings of the race. But you can't win them all, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So early in that race, you had both Seb and Josh behind you, and how much is there? And before the show, you had told me that it's interesting that the top guys, which is relative, I suppose, but you said the top guys can just put on tons of pressure because how good they are on the brakes, which I thought was which was interesting. So at this point, you have Seb and Josh behind you, both 1 and 2 in points. Are you thinking, I don't want to deal with these? I have my own championship to run. I don't want to deal with these guys. I don't want to get involved. Or is it I have less to lose almost because you're 20th in points?
A little bit of both. In terms of like their championship thing, I could not care less. Whoever wins the championship, if it's not me and it's not a teammate, I really don't mind. If them guys want to like fight me so hard that they end up off the road because they fought me too hard, well, that's tough on them, I guess. I'm not going to back out of the way. Very close to, yeah. There was a little small skirmish with Josh where he tried to hang it around the outside of, I think it was Westfield. And
Bold?
Yeah, and I thought bold as well, and I did just about clear him and then shut the door, and he ran wide from there. But at the start of the race, I think Alejandro got by me between Druids and Graham Hill. And the reason why I kind of let him go almost all easy was I was still a little bit hesitant on cold tires and just a little bit nervous. It's been a while from a run up front, so we just didn't want to make a catastrophic mistake. And I also knew, given sort of the scrap that had happened behind, I could slot in behind and not lose any further positions or lose too much momentum. If I was to let one of Josh or Seb go, I was still going to be under extreme pressures. And further into the race, if you can hold on, maybe that one battle at a time, you get closer to the end of the race and hold on to position. So the further into the race, I'm more likely to fight my battles rather than right at the very start.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because how much of a danger at Brands is that if Josh goes by you, Seb's gonna throw it in too. I mean, because that seemed like possibly likely, and he doesn't want him to get away.
Yeah, exactly. So both of them guys are, because they're fighting each other, they don't want cars, I suppose, in between if you're the car behind. So if one gets through, the other's going to really force the issue through. So Seb had worked an opening to the inside of T2 on whatever lap it was, 7 or 8, something like that. And I got pulled out of shape enough by the time we got the run down to Hawthorns, which I think's T5, that the door had opened up and Josh could sort of follow through. And Josh is very, very good through mid-corner, especially at high speed, something that I just noticed. So once he sort of got the run, I had to sort of slot back in line, having lost the 2 positions, and make sure I didn't lose any further to my teammate Johan behind, who did try and overtake me. Like he's in an even more compromised position where I think he had only 1 point or 3 points or something like that coming into that point, so he was going to take literally everything he could. So I couldn't blame him. But I had to shut the door on him, just like, no, we're holding position, mate.
This is not a Barrichello Schumacher situation.
No, not today. Whilst we're teammates and we obviously get on extremely well, once it comes down to it, you're still fighting for yourself at the same time. So if it was in a different position where like I was maybe P10 in points and not really fighting too hard either way, then maybe I would give more room and be a bit more lenient. But
no, that's fair.
I still needed to get my points on the board too. So as long as we sat P4, P5 and we weren't getting overtaken, then that's not the end of the world. I think that's a good result for us.
No, and really, it was a tremendous race to watch. I was on the edge of the seat pretty much the whole race. Tom, I imagine you were as well.
I was
One
running
question.
during it, but that's fine.
Oh yeah, you were on the edge of the treadmill then, I
Yes,
guess.
that's right. Very
So
dangerous.
Jamie, you mentioned that a few years back, once you figured that there might be something in this for you, you started looking at this as more of a full-time thing. My question to you would be, I guess, how much time do you think you're putting in every week to practice for these events, and like what role would you say that that team involvement plays in it for you in terms of getting ready for Saturdays?
In terms of time put in, not enough. I'd love to put in more, but we're working on that end. I still work a full-time job, so
Got it.
putting in the hours that I need to is difficult. Plus, as well, doing stuff for the Apex Academy at the moment as well takes up a lot of time. So I get in my practice as and when I can. So hopefully in the future that'll be a little bit easier, but as is, it's tough. But that's what how the team sort of comes in and helps everybody out. So we'll sort of combine together and we'll do a lot of analysis on each other's driving, on the setup, and a lot of looking at telemetry to try and sort of speed up the process of getting absolutely on top of things and ready for race week.
Got it. So you'd say probably where it helps you the most is having a full-time job, being able to get down from, let's say, needing 30 hours to dial in setup and analysis to maybe getting down to 20 to 25, which is a substantial amount of time.
If I put in 20 to 25, I wouldn't have been P20 in standing. Some week, or for some race weeks, it's a struggle to get 10 in, but
Got it.
Yeah, anything above 15, 20 is usually a good indicator for me that I'll put the necessary time in to be close to the sharp end.
I mean, it must be hard to compete with literal professionals at this level.
Yeah, it's only a recent thing, probably the last year or so, where guys are, full time at it, and especially with the current sort of climate with COVID and everything, there's a lot of guys who might be off work at the moment and have a little bit of extra time to put in. Unfortunately, I'm still able to. Well, unfortunately and unfortunately, I suppose, still able to.
Yay, paying my bills, boo racing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. So, so some guys might be able to put in more time than they'd previously been able to, and results are starting to show. But it makes it a little bit tougher for me. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at the moment.
Well, either way, now you're probably well within the top 20 for that cutoff. Yes.
Yeah, up to P15 now, but it's a much more substantial gap. It's far closer to top 10 now than it is P20. So we're looking up rather than down, which is good.
Yeah, that's a good place to be. And there's 5 Apex guys in the top series. Is that right?
Yes, there's 5 of us.
Okay.
I mean, that's an incredible level of achievement, especially when you consider the likes of Williams and Redline and VRS getting 5 people into the Pro Series is really impressive, and I think it speaks well to the environment maybe that Apex has been able to cultivate over the years. I mean, they're not a new organization by any means, and I think it shows in being able to get that many people in.
Yeah, I agree. We've always been sort of in and around there, and always sort of had our name there, and to consistently come back year after year with a pretty strong lineup is definitely a very good thing for us.
Yeah, and especially like from what I know of, for example, looking at Johan, your teammate, I mean, he's probably one of the more impressive multidisciplinary racers on the service.
Oh, of course. I mean, he's won races at Rallycross World Championship level. He was right up at the sharp end this year in the Indy 500. There's not a lot he can't do. Unfortunately, this year it's been super tough for him, where he's made mistakes in qualifying this year, puts him in the back, and if you're at the back of these races, that's where all the carnage basically is. So if there's one incident in P15, if you're anywhere behind it, you're going to probably see it and get caught up in it.
I wanted to go ahead, Manny.
No, I was going to say, and yeah, to your point, I think that maybe it's a little bit easier for Tom and I as bystanders who are pretty familiar with the scene and kind of who's trending up, who's trending down across, several disciplines. But when you look at people like Bobby Zelensky, for example, who I believe races for VRS and is doing extremely well in the Coca-Cola series on the oval side. And then he comes to the Porsche Super Cup side and is struggling for top 20s, on a regular basis. I think it speaks a lot to the depth of the field and, just how hard everyone is having to push each other.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not even that Bobby is like really that far off pace, if at all. It's just the margin for error from, okay, so you can put Rogers, Alejandro, and Sebastian probably as like a clear top three in terms of raw pace at the moment. From P4 down to like P25 is usually separated by like 2/10 on qualifying day, which is
That's
nothing.
incredible.
It's
Yeah.
just so crazy. So it's yeah, it's really, really tough. And I think Bobby as well, I heard this actually today, he runs on like G25 pedals as well, which can't help for like
Wow.
Oh,
raw
were
consistency.
you watching the Rogers stream this morning?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
watching the
yeah.
Rogers stream.
So
So
was I.
yeah, I was taking notes.
That was the most casual
we're going
subbing
back
Porsche
to
Cup I've ever seen.
we're going back to the Nordschleife in a couple of weeks. So I was like, oh, let's see how he's getting on with doing what's going on or something like that. So I thought I'd take a little look at what he's doing.
He
But
was
yeah, that's where I heard that.
He was taking so much curb. That
Mhm.
was blowing me away. That was the big difference. I mean, not that I'm hyper familiar there, but I was like, I'd be completely uncomfortable taking half as much as he was.
Yeah, he's a special talent. I'll give him that.
You mentioned qualifying, and that's actually something I wanted to ask you about. So, and you said the top guys are, a little bit clear on pace, but and I've only been really watching the top stuff for this is probably season 2 of the time, but it seemed that Rogers is fast, no doubt, but he just
Yeah,
seems to be like he's so good at qualifying. Every time, every time. Is
yeah,
that what's really and of course it's particularly at brands it's hard to pass and all you guys are so close, but you brought up the brakes and we see guys in qualifying, but how much is I mean qualifying has to be a huge deal for races like this.
yeah. Super important. Really, really important. I think Rogers has only like missed out on pole position in this series, having actually not had a qualifying ban, which he had once last year, twice. Like he's been on pole every other time. And I think maybe the mentality is because I think he knows he's the fastest guy on track. Having that confidence where if you even make like a tiny little mistake, you're probably still going to be fine, gives you so much more confidence than someone like me who maybe, in terms of pure raw pace, is maybe a top 10 driver at best. And if I know I flush the lap and nail it, I can get myself into the top 8 and, good things can happen from there. But like any mistake and I'm in midfield, like that puts a lot of pressure on. So I think his knowledge that even if he makes just the smallest of errors, he's still fine, gives him so much more confidence. And confidence is everything when it comes to this car in this series, largely because it's so on edge. And if you know that you fully trust how the car is going to behave into every single corner and you trust in your own ability, then you're far more likely to execute closer to your maximum.
It's good to know that is clearly my problem. If I clear that up, Manny, head straight to the top.
No, I think that much like you've spoken to, I think the consensus, and please correct me if I'm wrong, would be that the Porsche Cup is probably the most difficult car to master on iRacing that sees regular participation. So, not to knock any of the other, finicky cars, the Formula Renault 3.5 comes to mind, and there are a couple others, but yeah, based on my very limited experience with the Porsche Cup, it's a car to take seriously.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Primarily because of how difficult the car is under braking. Like anyone who's tried it the first time, you hit the brakes into a heavy braking zone, and the back end will swap ends, and you're like, oh, what the hell happened there? I'm sort of the belief that raw pace around a lap, 80 to 90% of that is braking, more so
Yes.
than anything else. So if you get the braking absolutely spot on, then that's so much of the battle.
Yeah, and given that my first lap in that car ever was at Bathurst earlier this year,
Oh
I
yeah.
distinctly recall hitting the brakes for the first time and getting sent ass over front into the turn one wall. So yeah,
Mhm.
Amazing.
braking is everything in that car, absolutely, and probably most cars, honestly, especially when you're competing, aliens among aliens.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that one.
Uh, there so that moment where Josh went around the outside and he had like half a bumper alongside you, and then he ended up having to yield, and that moved him off track. But it almost seemed like at that point. So I don't even know if you'd have a car left call. He was maybe alongside. It was really close. But how much at that point is like a game of chicken between you and Josh? As in, he might, he has more pace, or at least theoretically, uh, and you're on the inside. How much of that is you saying I'm not going to yield, and him expecting you to?
Um, yeah, that's quite an interesting question, I suppose. I think I got a clear call, briefly, and I took that as gospel. Anytime I can get a clear call on Josh, I'm going to take it. Um, but I sort of knew if he like there's almost no chance he's going to actually make it stick around the outside there because I'm going to run him off the road through the following corner, so he has to back out at some point. So that's just a position where he was always compromised, and I had control of the battle as such. And it's very hard to sort of, I guess, in the moment clarify who has complete control, especially if it's like very close and the other guy might have slightly more than a quarter panel or slightly less than a quarter panel of an overlap. But there, when he's around the outside and he barely has a bumper on me, I know I've got control of the situation, and so I can almost dictate terms.
So and it wouldn't matter anyone's there. You're going to the edge of the road, basically.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%.
So, uh, and I guess let's take it from this top level competition all the way to like now let's talk second split IMSA or something.
Mhm.
Say someone's 2K, and clearly you probably have, you're one of the top drivers in the service, and you've expressed that your racecraft is probably even good in the upper half of the top series. But say for someone who, uh, we're in the GT3 Merc IMSA second split. Uh, what can
First
guy?
question: why you're not in the Audi?
Okay, we're in the Audi. I'm revising my question. We're in the Audi, the GT3 Audi, and you're being caught maybe a couple tenths, half second a lap. How can guys at a lower level make better decisions about when to yield, how to go for a spot? Do you have any tips that maybe someone at a lower level could think about when they're going on track?
Yeah, so I still firmly believe that racecraft is a skill that is 100% taught and it's never really that natural. You still have to understand closing distances of cars and who's better in the brakes, who's weaker maybe through certain corners. Um, it's all about trying to understand where and why someone is quicker than you or slower than you in certain points and trying to take advantage of that in whatever way you can. It's hard to do that if you're the car that's being caught rather than the chasing car. If you're the chasing car, you can see quite clearly where the other guy's faster. If you're in front, you have to rely either on the mirror or just the relative and kind of gauge it from there. When it comes to the actual overtaking phase, I think it's important just to not get flustered. Um, like you'll see quite frequently with guys who don't race regularly how they're able to like accurately explain, oh, this guy went for a move and it was incorrect and whatnot. Like you can see it from like a outside view, whether it's the right call or not. And like a lot of stewards, for example, in major racing series aren't either world class drivers or regular racers even. So but they're still able to make correct decisions, or at least judge everything fairly. So I think it's important just to make sure that you can keep a clear head and process what information you're getting in. Being able to do that on top of still driving to a high level is very, very difficult, and I will concede that. But make sure to give yourself a chance. So like, don't get flustered with like your breathing or anything like that. Make sure that you're keeping yourself calm and relaxed, and then the correct decisions should be easier to make from there.
No, yeah, that's good advice, I think, and I imagine probably something at any level really probably makes a big difference.
Yeah, and as someone prone to, seeing red when I'm racing Indy Pro and catching this guy lap after lap after lap, if anything remotely breaks my concentration, I'm trying to play catch up to get back to where I was and rushing through, I guess, the process. And that's usually when I cowabunga myself into a wall and the car shatters into a million pieces. So,
sure. I think the biggest mistake that people make when overtaking is that they made a decision far too late, unless it's an instinctive thing where the car head's made a mistake and you're just trying to jump on top of it. But even still, you need to quite clearly process the information and work out where the gap is to make the move. I sort of quite frequently know if I'm going down a long straight and I'm catching a guy, I know I'm making that overtake or where I'm going to try and make that overtake well before I get to even seeing the braking zone. So making time to make decisions is probably as important as anything. You don't need to be absolutely like the most sharpest of minds to make overtakes. Like, as long as you can I think anticipation is probably actually more of an important thing than anything else. Being able to see when something is going to happen before it happens is really important, and that sort of comes with putting yourself into positions of overtaking and having to defend quite regularly.
Even you can learn how to pass, Tom, except on restarts.
I only know how to go backwards on restarts, which is a skill in itself, let me tell you. So we had talked about how Josh was on the outside of you, and you were going to the edge of the road no matter what. So with that, and that's at a very high level. You guys raced each other a fair amount already, and you've made that decision. You're saying, I'm not yielding. You have to yield, and that might be more obvious to you. A Porsche Esports Super Cup driver, but let's say we're back in our second split Audi. I mean, that the dangerous thing is if you have two guys that maybe don't understand Racecraft. I guess how hard or easy is it to make a pass and not have to need the other driver to yield? Because that's really, if that awareness is less, and pretty much anyone that's going to be racing is going to have less awareness than you, Josh, or Seb. Honestly, anyone who's going to be listening, they're going to be racing with guys who has, in theory, less awareness. So how can I make a decision on I need to make this guy yield if I throw it in this corner? How do I make a decision on whether I'm going to trust him to do that if I have no idea who he is?
Okay, yeah. So that's definitely a more difficult thing. But I think what would make it easier is any movements that you make. So if you're going to make an overtake, make it really clear that, like, okay, I'm going to the inside and I'm going to brake later than you. So once I brake later than you, if you want to like turn in and try and chop the nose, that's on you, buddy, sort of a thing. You're going to get sent flying. Likewise, if you're the car ahead and the car behind you like swings out to try and make an overtake, like acknowledge that, okay, yeah, he's probably going to go for the overtake here. I should, either cover that off a lot sooner, or okay, he's got to run. It is what it is. He's going to try and make the move. Give him space. Respect the fact that he's, well, since I don't know the guy, maybe just give him an extra half a car's width on the inside to, maybe slightly miss his braking point because he doesn't race that clean or whatever it may be. But yeah, you can tell a lot about what a car or what's going through the mind of a driver by their inputs and how the car behaves. So if guys widely weaving all over the place, And I'll still see that anytime I, race a regular official race where the guy's defending super hard. And it's like, okay, well, I've got a little bit of trouble here. How do I, um, make this happen clean and safe? And sometimes it just doesn't happen because the guy is that crazy that I can't spot a clear and easy overtake. But it's the same, someone who maybe doesn't spot that will still try and race them normally, and then everyone spins out and has a bad time.
So really, it's we all love that late surprise move you see in Formula One, and I mean, how exciting is that? You see the surprise on like a double apex or someone goes underneath, but really you're saying at basically any level below something like this, if you're not very deliberate with your actions and where you place the car, you're putting yourself at a lot more risk.
Correct, yeah. Even at the top level, you see it, even in F1 particularly, it's the one thing I hate the most is guys who move under braking, because if a guy is committed to the overtake and is braking late, there is no margin for error there once that happens. The thing that always comes to mind is Danny Ricciardo and Max Verstappen clashing at Baku in, was it 2017, 2018, something like that?
Yeah.
Like, that's 100% Max's fault for moving under braking there for me. 100%.
Yep.
Because Daniel's committed to the overtake, and he's not broke late to go straight through the back of Max. No, he's pulled out to make the move and then broke late, and Max is chopped across, and then all the downforce comes off the front end and he spears through the back of him. Like that, even at the very top level, that just doesn't work and will eventually catch you out. So maybe it's just me being slightly more conservative that way, but I don't pull that move really on anyone unless I know I can 100% get away with it, and it's very, very rare that's ever the case.
I mean,
in exchange, you probably get to live longer, therefore translating to more consistent finishes, I would imagine.
Exactly, yeah. Give yourself a platform to then improve from, rather than go for glory every single time and it's a win or bust.
Words to live by.
And I mean, I think part of that is just you have those two guys, quote unquote, racing personalities, in that they're both so aggressive. We talked about expecting the other guy to yield. Both of them are they'll throw in moves and they'll say, well, you're gonna give up a spot or we're both crashing. I mean, it happens a bunch and guys would complain about it. And do you see that in the Porsche Cup? Is that other guys with personalities like that? You don't need to name names, perhaps.
No, I won't name names in case they start racing me terribly. But you do see it sometimes, especially in midfield, where there isn't a lot to be gained, but still quite a bit to be lost. You'll see guys defend quite hard, and sometimes it works. Sure, like you hold on to the spot and it's great, and that's fine. But 60-70% of the time, the guy's already on the absolute limit of braking. He's not going to be able to pull it back and respect the fact that you've swiped across. He's going to go through the back of you and spin you out, and that's you to the back of the field. That actually kind of goes back to whenever the guys got runs on me last weekend. It all typically started coming off of T1 and they got to the inside. If I swing across to try and defend that, they're already going to be on the limit of braking by the time I get there. I'm going to get sent off into the wall. So it didn't make sense for me to start covering the inside like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
Yeah, on the oval end, we definitely call that wrecking for 90th, I believe would be the expression. So.
Yeah, wrecking for 90th.
Happens all the time, man. It really does. Third caution in a row. You know who's wrecking. It's not 5th, not 10th. It's 31st. Every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you clearly made some good decisions at Brands, and congrats a lot on the double fourth. That's a really good result. I mean, in any field, honestly. So, congrats on that. And how are you feeling about Spa?
Spa's a really tricky combo. It's fairly straightforward in a GT3 or GT, but with all the downforce off, the high-speed corners are a lot trickier. So it's tough, but I think we can do well this week, or this upcoming week. I'm looking forward to it.
I've been practicing in the GT4 for the Porsche Sprint Challenge race at Spa. And so I ran, you say it's relatively straightforward in GT3 car. Well, I ran 17 laps last night. How many X's do you think I got, you guys? 17 laps.
I'm
Probably at least
going
50.
30. I'm going 30.
27. That's a pretty good guess, man.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's much better than my practice for Porsche
The-
Esports has been going.
The only reason I figured it would be a little bit lower is because if he's going off in Stavlo, then he can go off the second time in Stavlo, no problem, and not get the extra X.
Yes, that helps.
That always helps.
That's funny. Yeah, I had one clean lap, I think. So
Proud.
That'll be my Q lap. It's ready. Okay, last thing before we let you go, we need to call our NASCAR expert in a moment. But before we go, we need a Indy 500 pick from you.
Ooh.
I don't know if you watch a lot of IndyCar.
I don't watch an awful lot of IndyCar.
Perfect.
I'll keep an eye out for the 500. My pick, Joseph Newgarden. Why not?
Ooh,
Okay.
I like that.
I'll back him. Yeah, I'll stick some money on it. Why not? Yeah, Joseph Newgarden.
That's good. That might
I
be a
believe it's
dark
his
horse
year.
pick. That's good. All right, man. Really appreciate it. You coming on and talking with us. It's probably just about dinner time where you are, so.
Yes, yeah, it's getting close. I'm thinking about getting some from you.
If you have
It's been
any,
a pleasure, Jamie.
yeah, if you have any sponsors to plug or anything last minute, or maybe just some social media, whatever you want, toss that in.
Yeah, sure. Obviously all the guys at Apex Racing, who do so much for us. The guys at SDK Gaming as well, and all of our branches as well, the Apex Racing Leagues and the Academy, and the TV side of things as well with all our broadcasts. I'd like to thank Computers and where else? Oh, social media, Instagram and Twitter. I think both just Jamie Fluke. Nothing fancy with numbers or letter or dots or anything like that. And yeah, thanks to you guys for having me on. It's been really good fun.
Oh yeah, no. Thanks for being the first guest, and we had no technical issues that I'm aware of. Fingers crossed. Yeah, really appreciate it, man.
Cool.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Jamie.
No problem. Take care.
All right, Manny. It's that was rad. It ran slightly over time, so we could go straight into calling our NASCAR expert, Maynard Daniels. Have you met Maynard?
I've only heard of him through the grapevine, and I can only imagine what will happen from here.
He's been handpicked by me to give the most insightful, honest, and down. I mean, because you don't. Okay, we're talking NASCAR now, right? I want a traditionalist. I want someone who is familiar with the history. I think that's important for a NASCAR correspondent. Do you not agree?
I mean, I guess he's disqualified if he's ever been north of the Mason-Dixon. No, that's a good point.
I'm pretty sure he has not.
Okay, thank God.
Let's see if we can get him on. Maynard, are you on?
Yes, I am, Tom. How's it going?
Excellent.
Oh,
it
Jesus.
is. Hang on. Let's get this looking nice. That's beautiful. That is absolutely. We're live with Maynard. Maynard Daniels from North Carolina.
This is
Can
my
happen
first
to-
time seeing this image, and this is art.
Yes.
Kannapolis, North Carolina, to be exact.
Thank you.
Best city in the lower 48, I'd say.
Now, just being from North Carolina, I'm sure no one would question your NASCAR credentials. But
Absolutely. It's the heart of NASCAR.
absolutely, and I don't think anyone is questioning it. But maybe just a quick recap of who you are, what you've done in motorsport, and I personally know why how qualified you are. But if you could enlighten the rest of us, perhaps.
Be sure to plug your messages per week in the forums as well. I think that's key to understanding your expertise.
That would be good.
Well, Tom, Manny, I done got started on dirt track wrenching about, 10, 20 years ago? I don't even remember right now.
Mm-hmm.
We go down to Fayetteville, not too far from Kannapolis. I done grown up near, actually, a Earnhardt lived a couple trailers down from me growing up, little kid.
Sure.
So I got plenty of experience with that, you know.
Yeah, that's all you need. I'd say that's basically that covers anything. I'm surprised NBC has not hired you yet.
Well, I email them plenty. I tell them, hey, y'all doing just the wrong things, you know, with this broadcast. And I tell them every time, say it's the last year I'm going to watch y'all, you know. You gotta draw the line somewhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. And maybe they will figure it out someday. Take your advice. Hey, did you watch?
Or it goes back to Fox, one or the other, really.
That's right. Well, yeah. Maybe we won't.
Well, we got Fox. We got that Yankee Jeff Gordon on there in the booth. I got to just mute that thing. Tell you what.
Oh boy. Hey, did you watch the Maynard? Did you watch the NASCAR at Daytona Road?
Oh, Tom, let me tell you. I was sitting there on the couch last Sunday, and Becky, my girlfriend, she'd be yelling at me. She said, Maynard, ain't there a NASCAR race on today? I said, fixing it be about that time, right? So, you know what I do? I go get me a cold one from the fridge, go sit down in my recliner. I turn that race on. And Lord, that won't you know, it'd be Daytona. I say, yep, time for that Firecracker 400. I didn't think it was 4th of July weekend anyway, but here we are, Daytona plate racing.
Mm-hmm.
Line up 2x2, going to the start finish line. I'm super excited, Tom. Let me just tell you.
Understand.
And darn tootin', they go roaring through that front stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, my heart is racing. They don't slam on the brakes.
Yeah.
I said, Becky, maybe they got some gators come out that pond down yonder, and they're trying to avoid that thing. I don't know what they're doing. You know what they did? They just kept going.
They
going through
to use
this.
the brakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they go left. Okay, they're going left, and then you know what they did? They turn right, and I said, they going to check out that lake down there. I don't even know what's going on. Why are they driving this Daytona interloop?
So yeah, I agree. It was alarming. I won't lie. I myself and Manny have both watched the 24 Hours at Daytona. I assume you have not. Well, maybe you did with the year that Dale ran.
I actually won it this year. I'll have you know. Good day.
Well, I done heard about it.
Okay.
Because they've been talking about it, and I began to thinking. I said, you know what? Dale Earnhardt done run that race. No, Jeff Gordon and I think that new kid Kyle Busch. He been running a few years.
Yep.
And then I remembered that's that Le Mans course they've been running, and I you know what? NASCAR, they always try to bring in this gimmick stuff, and they trying to like appeal to other fans. So maybe they trying to grab the fans from Le Mans. I don't know, but I won't no fan of this Daytona road course.
Speaking of, so that we've implemented the cone rule for ovals the rest of the year, I believe. Is this something you appreciate? Question mark. You like?
Well, NASCAR, it's got its roots in super speedway racing, right? You got the Daytona Super Speedway, the Arlington Super Speedway, Charlotte Super Speedway. That's something. The cone rule is something we did on dirt tracks. NASCAR ain't got no root in dirt tracks.
Sure.
I think what's done happen. You look at the stands this season, empty. But you go to your local dirt track like I done did in Fayetteville, other places around Charlotte, full, right? So NASCAR said, what are they doing different? One of those things we did different in dirt track, cone rule. Next thing you know, in NASCAR, cone rule.
So there's a progression from the local short tracks to the top tier oval racing in NASCAR, and that's no good. What you're saying?
I don't think it's a question of good or bad.
Okay.
I'm just trying to say they're looking at what is bringing in the fans currently, because NASCAR apparently can't get no fans anymore, and they're saying, what can we do? What can we add this year to make it one more level of ridiculous?
Maynard, you know that
they should have gone with fireworks personally.
Yeah, Maynard, you know that they haven't been able to have fans at a lot of the races, right?
Well, I mean, I done watched the races last year. It don't look the same to me.
Oh. Well,
I mean,
that,
hard to disagree.
Yeah.
Hard to disagree.
Yeah, I mean, we should definitely try to emulate 2003 as much as possible. That much we can probably both agree on.
NASCAR Thunder. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great year
Well,
indeed.
Yes.
But not as good as 1993.
Yeah.
Dale Senior, I think, had a great year that year.
Amen.
Praise be.
So basically, what you're saying is never go back to Daytona Road, Watkins Glen only.
Whoa! Now, Tom, I ain't implying we go up to beyond Mason-Dixon. Period.
Oh, okay.
We don't need them Watkins Glen. That's another new gimmick they had past 15, 20 years anyway.
Sure.
I think they may have raced it in the late 80s as well.
This is what you do. You start the season, Daytona. Okay. Second race of the year every year. It's either Atlanta or it's Rockingham.
Okay.
And a story. You go to Darlington on Labor Day weekend. You go to Daytona again, 4th of July every year. And you know where you finish the season? Homestead, Miami. That's how it's always been. That's how it always needs to be. They're great racing. We don't need no chase for the Cup. We don't need no Daytona road course. We don't need none of that.
So is New Hampshire out under these rules?
Oh, I don't know where that is, but I figure it would be.
So this actually kind of surprises me that you didn't know that NASCAR was going to run the Daytona Road, because you run NAS a lot in iRacing, right?
Yeah, matter of fact, I do.
Right.
Here and there.
So did you? I have a lot of questions on what you were running during NIS last week.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Tom. I see everybody taking this wrong turn up in the front stretch. I just kept going.
You thought they were pitting in, going straight to the garage or something?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there's a secret route. I don't know.
They were probably shocked at your Dale tribute livery and couldn't take the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nobody done told me I was doing the wrong thing. I just kept going straight. I said, why is there some garbage in the track? But I just kept driving.
I don't blame you. I was gonna ask you about the NASCAR chicane, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think you'd understand the difference. So,
well, Tom, the only thing I know about them chicanes is them starting parks we got in the back of the field. I mean, we got plenty of chicanes on the course anyway. We don't need more chicanes. They putting down turtles, or they call them, I don't even know. Will they get them from the swamp down there? I don't know. But anyway, what are they going to do next week when they go there? Darn oval now.
Ragnarok in our chat says that you're taking the Joker every lap.
Yeah, do you ever run Rallycross, Maynard?
Well, that's on dirt, isn't it? Ain't it?
It's half on dirt, yeah.
Yep.
Dirt and paved, those are just two things you just can't combine. That's disgusting.
That's something we can all agree on.
It's immoral.
Speaking of which, they done raced the truck series, the Craftsman Truck Series, at a dirt track. What is that garbage?
But they're not combining them.
But you got a stock car, a paved stock car on a dirt track. That is true. There's just no business for that. That's not what NASCAR is founded on. That's not what we want here.
Wasn't that Tony Stewart's idea? Are you not a fan?
Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
Tony Stewart. You mean hired by Joe Gibbs? Tony Stewart. Joe Gibbs, who wants to run them Toyotas.
Yeah.
No, I ain't no fan of Tony Stewart.
That's a good point. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah. No one in
the Pontiacs were better.
Pontiac, Chevrolet, Ford. That's all you need. Why we got these Toyotas? We're gonna have Honda next.
Maybe.
Lexus. What we got in here?
I would love
Cadillac.
NASCAR. I look forward to that day.
Okay, Maynard, are you gonna watch the Indy 500 shortly?
Well, I don't know. I do like Indy when the NASCAR goes there, but I might tune in, maybe.
Okay.
There will be at least one European person on track. Will you be comfortable with that?
I don't know. I mean, ain't them open wheels European thing anyway? You got them formulas. Ain't that what this is? Formula and Indy?
Yeah. Well, it's very American. I think it's the oldest American race still going.
Yeah, it's like 109
I don't know if you.
years old.
Well, I might just tune in then.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's pretty good. They go around at Indy and do 500 miles, and other than those two things, it's very European. So just prepare yourself.
I might just have to put it on
There's
mute
no
then.
beer. There's milk.
Yeah, they do drink milk. Is that? I don't know if that's better or worse for you.
Well, maybe they'd be getting healthy. Who knows?
Hey, good for those bones, Maynard. Okay. Hey, do you? I don't know if you watch a lot of IndyCar, but if you have an Indy 500 pick, we asked Jamie Fluke before. He's Irish, I do believe. I'm gonna look real foolish if he's not. I'm pretty sure. And do you have an Indy 500 pick, Maynard? I don't know if you really are familiar with the grid.
Well, I know a few of them.
Okay.
What did he pick though? I'm curious.
Joseph Newgarden.
I don't know who that is, but don't he drive for Penske?
Yes, I believe so.
All right. See, I'm a Penske fan myself in a
Mhm.
way. I like Roger. Big fan of Roger. In fact, my own pick
Mhm.
is a Roger Penske driver.
Mhm.
You know, you got to go American team. You got to go American manufacturer. You got to go American driver.
Okay.
And American driver, you got to have a strong name, you know, because name is everything.
Mhm.
And so my pick, strong name, American driver, willpower. Nothing more American than power.
Yeah, that is absolutely a great pick, Maynard. That is.
You
Thanks,
did
sir.
great, Maynard. I'm so proud of you.
Very excellent.
Appreciate it.
Hey, so the doubleheader here at Dover this weekend. Been watching that. Hope that's been a nice little bit of relief for you watching. Last week we had to watch Chase Elliott win at Daytona Road. All those words are probably not what you like to hear about a NASCAR race, but we're back at Dover. Hope your NIS went well, and I hope the family's good over there.
Hey, family's great. Little Dale, little
Dale.
Charlie,
Sure.
little Dalette, she's doing great too.
Excellent.
Love it.
Yes, sir.
How old is little Charlie Daniels these days?
Oh, shoot, he about what, 15?
Yeah, he should get him in a race car pretty soon.
Oh, he about too old. You got to start them about what,
Wow.
3 or 4.
Sure. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
about-
2 to 3, I think, is probably the sweet spot.
By the time they're 6, you got to put them in that, you know, like a 410 sprint car. Else, heck, that's way too old. You know, they ain't gonna get good at that age. Why waste money?
That's what I always say. Why waste money? All right, Maynard. Really appreciate it. You got anything else you want to fit in, or is that about it?
Yeah, I just like to say thank you all for having me here. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Just have to say, you know, giving a plug, I guess they call it, to Good Wrench
Sure.
Services, Good Wrench Plus. Yeah, maybe some Snap-on tools. You know,
Are you
it's all the best.
Are you affiliated with those companies or?
Nah, I just love them. You know.
Yeah, I feel. All right. Okay. Yeah, I understand. All right, Maynard. Take care of Becky. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Manny.
Thank you.
All right. Enlightening as always. Manny,
That's one word for it. Yeah.
Manny. Let's get our Indy 500 picks in, and then close up here.
I mean, nice and easy. It's Marco's year, bro.
Marco, interesting.
This is the year he transcends from just meme to godhood.
I think no matter what, he's gonna be a meme forever, Manny.
Yeah, but he can be a meme god going forward.
Could be. Oh, I need to take off the live with Maynard. We're not live with Maynard anymore. There we go.
R.I.P. Maynard. He a real one.
I'll miss him. Okay. I honestly think Scott Dixon's gonna win. I know it's a lame pick, but I think
I mean, it's
win.
hard to bet against Dixon at anything, despite how you may or may not feel about him personally. I mean, the dude gets it done year after year for going on almost 2 decades now.
Yep, it's been a long time. He is good. Good team. good year already. I'm afraid that is my pick. Let's quick cover just talk about the results of the last Coke race at the Daytona road course. Bobby Zielinski on, as Jamie mentioned, G25 pedals. Clearly the class of the field. It wasn't much in question, and now he's won 3 or 4 road courses in a row. More,
I think that was 4.
yeah. And on the G25 pedals, that's if you get used to something, I guess you roll with it. It's interesting that you
A
would.
man among boys.
I don't know, man. He's good. He's very good. Clearly very
think-
strong at the road courses.
Jamie's point earlier, with equipment maybe not being the end all be all when it comes to sim racing, I think that there's a lot to be said for familiarity and someone running the same pedals for when the G29 come out or the G25, 2008.
I have
Let's
no
say
idea.
about a year or two after. So he's probably been running the same pedals for 10 years. And I mean, there's a lot to be said for familiarity. And anyone who can drive at that level in a non-ABS car without a load cell pedal is far beyond my abilities. So big respect to Bobby.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Okay, so this coming week we have the World of Outlaw Late Model Championship finale.
That's still going on?
Yep.
Jesus.
Last week, and that is tomorrow, I do believe. Or they're on
Okay.
Tuesdays? No, they're on Mondays. Yeah, they're on
I
Mondays.
think they're Monday.
Monday nights. Yes, Monday nights. If you're in the States. And that's the championship finale. We have Hayden Cardwell, Dylan Wilson, Kendall Tucker, Devin Morgan, and even Evan Say pretty close to the top on points. So if you're going to watch any of them, it just one. Watch this one. We have the season finale at Charlotte Dirt
It's probably
Track.
the only one watching, honestly.
Lernerville is excellent in those cars. I watched both of them. I think they went there twice, and I watched them both. Or maybe that was the sprint car. Either way, Lernerville on that level is excellent. We have the Super Cup at Spa on Saturday, and the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge before it. That should be early if you're in the States. I think around 8:00 Central.
I think for Super Cup, I mean, Jamie Fluke for the dark horse win. I think it has to be.
Yeah, picking Jamie Fluke for the win. Everyone root for that man.
Porsche Sprint Series. I'm going for Tom for top 30, so I don't have to fire him from the team.
Wow, maybe. You never know, man. Been a little hit or miss lately.
31st will not get the job done. I'm just letting you know.
That's fine. No, I respect that.
I've got the button primed and ready.
Sure, the big ban button. Yeah, that should be interesting. Super Cup's still going strong. It's fun to watch. Spa should be entertaining at least. We'll see if Sebastian Job can claw back some points from Rogers, and maybe Jamie,
Unlikely.
Yeah, maybe Jamie.
I
Maybe
think-
Jamie can keep going to the top 10 though.
Yes, I'm deeply hoping for a Fluke top 10 and maybe having 2 Apex cars in the top 10. But I think on the balance of things, I think it's Rogers Championships to lose. He has all the momentum.
Jamie clearly had. He's got a voice for radio though. I wasn't sure what to expect, but
it was a beautiful thing.
He probably should be hosting the show and not me.
He could sing me to sleep any day.
Ragnarok says, wait, so my stock G27 is a handicap?
Yeah, you need to go one generation back or one generation forward.
Here's the deal, right? So you go G25 pedals, and then the really expensive direct drive. That's what Zielinski does.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
the pro gamer move.
So, we're talking $1,200 DD wheel.
Depends
cheap
on
pedals.
which one.
You gotta have a wheel on it. That's true. Man.
Yeah, no, but I'm just trying to think which base he must be running.
Vieras.
Oh, Direct Force Pro.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,200 probably fair.
Okay, and Coke Series at the Daytona Oval.
I'm going. I'm feeling either Jimmy Mullis or Kerwin for Dark Horse.
Really, Kerwin.
Yeah,
Well, he got a win at Michigan.
he has a knack for being in the right place at the right time.
Interesting. We'll see if Keegan Leahy continues to be on top of the points headed in the playoffs. The consistency has been really out of control.
I feel as though when we get down to championship time, it's going to be a 2-horse race between Zelensky and Leahy.
It's looking like it might be that way. They're on top of the points now. We saw Ryan Luza get 3 wins, but
I think Luz is just too inconsistent.
that is the danger, I guess. He's still top 5 in points. So, but you talk about inconsistent, but if he gets hot, then if he wins a couple of races like he did early in the season, that's all it takes.
No, absolutely, and that's part of what's exciting about the playoff format being NASCAR migrating towards more of a ball sports playoff format. It's easy to win the whole season, but it's not easy to be consistent the whole season. But come playoff round 1, points are reset. We're starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's I forget how exactly it works. I know there's an advantage of being up front, but it's small enough that certainly can be overcome easily with a bad result or someone else winning. We have last year's champion, Zach Novak, in 22nd in points off of the top 20 bubble for the free entry to next year. He'll be looking for a couple more results.
Tough year for Novak.
Yep, not a lot of luck. His teammate Jimmy Mullis in 9th, top 10 in points right now, so he's looking at least comfortable in getting that free entry. Maybe just on the outside looking in right now of getting in the playoffs, but you never know. Especially
the real
going
question
Daytona.
is, will Schoenberg qualify yet again?
I'm gonna go yes. Somehow sneak it out.
It's incredible.
It might go to the Pro Series, I admit, but you never know, man. Yeah, we got Schoenberg in 39th, Jeremy Allen in 40th, who I think has vacated his seat. I think he had surgery on his shoulder, and he had to give up that spot. So I hope that I do believe I have that right.
Best wishes for a speedy recovery for him.
I hope we can get back behind the wheel, and it's never easy getting to the top flight series. So I'm sure it's a drag to have something like that happen.
Yeah, stay tuned for our progress next year.
Straight to the top. All right, Manny. I think that's about it.
This has proved to be a surprisingly competent, some would even describe successful first episode.
Yeah,
so
it's more competent than my racing.
I can definitely second that motion.
That's
but
good.
I feel as though my involvement there was key.
To what? To wrecking my racecraft? Which one?
No, to being the difference between mediocrity and borderline competence.
Yes, absolutely excellent. You're moving next week. There is some question whether we'll have a show.
As you can see, box hell behind my shoulder.
Undecided on whether there'll be a show next week. Hopefully after that we can get to a weekly broadcast. We'll be varying a little bit of time on Sundays most of the time, depending on what the guest is from and what's going on. This week we wanted to fit this in before the Indy 500 for anyone watching live, and it'll go on YouTube and any podcast catchers afterwards in audio and video formats. Excellent. Do you have anything else, Manny?
No, I think we're covered. It's been a pleasure doing this. Excited to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I can't wait to talk with Maynard.
I
again. I just it's it's like a euphoric. Thank you, Ragnarok. Just a euphoric kind of feeling talking to someone with that much and that high up on the NASCAR infamy, fame. You know, he might end up in
Yeah,
the Hall of
we'll
Fame.
have to ask him about his iRacing prowess,
Hmm.
both from a forum and driver standpoint, more in
Mm.
depth next time.
Yeah, well, you know, we don't want to spill all the secrets at once, so.
No, stay tuned for more.
All right, guys. This has been Here for SR, a live show, podcast, and YouTube video about iRacing memes, and the people that make them.
Sometimes the memes are the people.
Sometimes the people are the memes are the people. Sometimes iRacing's the meme.
But at the end of the day, the memes are for the people. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, I've been Tom Armitis. That's Manny Tolentino. Thanks, guys.